Hello, Ian.
Morning, Paul. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
Now, we've known each other forever.
Yeah.
We were in the same hospital ward.
Almost.
From birth, almost.
Yeah, almost.
Yet, despite that, you are the poshest Sunday supporter I have ever known. And we worked together on loads of projects over the centuries, and we've had some great successes. And we've seen every mistake that can be made. In fact, you've made them all yourself.
which is why it's good on here. But the flip of that also is true, isn't it? Right? We've made plenty of mistakes, but actually we also have a handle on kind of some of the stuff that works and works well.
We do. So let's talk today then about how sales and delivery work together on projects.
Okay.
From the project inception and creation to the handover to the in-life running of a project right through to client sign-off.
Okay, all right. So we're not talking about what makes a good project and how that project's run. We're not talking about what's a good sales guy. It's really just about how you, with your sales hat on, works well with me with my program delivery hat on. Yeah.
As a team.
Okay, both together. Let's go. Come on.
Let's do it.
Right then, fellas. So once we've done that scene setting stuff, right? You've got me up to speed. One of the big things we've got to get to then is our initial project meeting, and we're doing a lot to get towards that thing in the first instance. And really, I think that's where delivery starts to take over from sales. That's where it's flipping over, because I always think it's important that the deliverer is seen to be the person who's delivering as far as the sales guy, the customer is concerned, right? So in that meeting, if we're having a meeting, and I would recommend we do, I'd always have an agenda which I would want to own. And also, I think the flip of this is it's not just mine. I've got to make sure you're okay with that, because we're still doing this two-way dialogue thing.
Yeah, that getting comfortable part. Bang on, actually. For me, in the sales side, it's vital that the client sees the project owner, you, and feels comfortable with the project owner. So getting that sales meeting and customer handover meeting done and doing it all together, face to face if you can. I know that isn't always possible, but that we're doing it all together so the client sees us as a team, and there's some form of handover where the client now knows that you, Ian, are the guy who's going to make this project happen, is an essential ingredient to the success of this.
Absolutely, and that's why I think it's important that I, as a deliverer, have owned the content of the agenda and be seen to push it and manage it on that basis. So I think we're furiously agreeing to agree, which is always good.
Absolutely. So we've had the client handover meeting.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, my little black and white world, you're good to go. It's all yours now. I can kind of sail off into the sun.
Yeah, well, like you said at the beginning, you and I have worked together too long, and I know you're about to disappear into the sun, but hang on, right? Before you go charging off into delivery, there's stuff we need to make happen. We've got to think about a lot. And really, I think, it kind of boils down to these lumps. Build your team. Who's going to do what?
That's your team, is it? The delivery team?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Who does what? In my mind, I've got to be clear about, and we've got this from the client session, etc., and from your brief, what is it we're trying to do? I break that into chunks. Who's going to be the best person to deliver that? Who's going to do it? And ultimately, I think there's a collective responsibility. Everybody needs to know what we're all trying to do, but the individual within that has got an individual delivery to do. And really, in the first instance, it's about getting those guys up to speed and knowing and understanding it. But don't do it in isolation, right? Don't do it in isolation. Because in my experience, across your business, lots of people have got experience of similar projects and similar things. So learn from them, lean on them, right? Gather stuff from them. I've had a number of guys, Jen is a good example, has come to me a couple of occasions, and said, well, actually, I was involved in that, and I made sure we did this, this, and this. Two of them were brilliant, one of them I didn't want to do at all, so I just binned it. But at least I'm getting to a place quickly where we know and understand what works.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's not bad. And of course, pull everybody together and pick off call, right? That's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, obviously. But shouldn't some of this, or all of this, be done before we do the client handover meeting?
Yeah, sure. Wouldn't it be great if the world was as black and white as we want it to be? But it isn't, right?
Is it not?
No, it isn't. Believe me, it's gone. The key word in all this stuff is flexibility, right? And practicalities, customers, whatever it may be, often dictate you've just got to be flexible. You have to change and flex as time goes on. So one way or the other, client meeting first or second, doesn't really matter, but be flexible.
Okay, I understand. My world's black and white, and your 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, some would say I'm the Arctic fox with this white hair, but we'll roll with that.
So, at last, Arctic Fox, you're finally taking it on. It's taking you all this time to take this project on, but you're finally taking it on. You're not calling me 3 times a day to ask me all the questions you yet to understand.
No, you're not. But right, before we move on, mate, don't belittle that calling you 3 times a day. It really, really is important. It's about getting all of us up to speed. And you talked a little bit about you trying to help me not worry so much. That's the thing that gets us to a place that allows the project team to crack on with stuff. Right? Because if we're not having those conversations, we end up with log jams. I remember on the last project I did, I ran out some numbers, and actually you were billed to the project at about, I forget, some enormous number. So I rang you up and said, well, what do I get for all this money? And you said, wit and repartee, which you know, you can make a call on. But the bit I do agree with, is you said it's all about freeing log jams. And I think that's part and parcel of it. But you need to know and understand what those log jams are, and that's about that conversation. So don't run away from how valuable those guys talking to you is. And that really just kind of says it's about an ongoing dialogue, really. Back to that comms thing.
Yeah, important. And fair enough. I get up in the morning to stop you worrying. That's the reason I do it.
Too good to me.
But brilliant. All that said, and I agree with that. At this point, you are able to get on and deliver the program. Yes, you may need to talk to me.
Yeah.
On occasion, that's going to happen. There'll be issues pop up, opportunities, problems to fix between us. But essentially, you've got this now. The batton's in your hand, and you're running with it.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And from my perspective, I've had help from around the guys, Laura, for example, putting together budgets, structure around that sort of stuff. Guys know and understand what they're doing. And really, that's about then setting timelines, being clear about it, and where do we go, and what do we do. And again, there are some kind of very simple things I would do in the first instance. I would sit very tightly on each of the individuals within that, and how we actually manage that on a daily basis, potentially, until we know we're kind of running in the right direction. And then I think also, there's a bit about, I'd spend a lot of time at this stage repeating to the project team what it is I hear from you, what it is I hear from the client, and helping everybody remember and understand what it is we're delivering. Because very, very quickly people can forget that. You know, tell them again, whatever that famous phrase was. But I think that's the essential part, I think, of kicking off that delivery stuff.
Okay. And one of the things I like about the way that you work with me is that it's inevitable when you're in a project that we're going to bump into hurdles, we're going to have little potholes, we're going to identify problems, stakeholders are going to emerge left field who change the perspective.
Yeah.
Life isn't straightforward. Life's not black and white, it's 50 shades of
Yeah,
grey.
you're right. There you go, go back to it.
And one of the things that you do really well is you won't just chuck a problem over the wall and say, here's a problem. You will say to me, here is some things I've encountered, and here are the options. This is what I think we could do with it, Paul. Then we'll have a natter and a chat, and we'll come up with the best answer, and we'll go back. We'll sometimes agree who's going to communicate that. Sometimes it'll be you, sometimes it'll be me. It'll depend on the problem and how we deal with it.
Yeah, and that plays to that dialogue between you and I changing as time moves on, right? It goes from you telling me stuff to me not just telling you I've got a problem, but me understanding the project and giving some potential solutions to you for us to kick around and to work out what's the best way through some of those issues. But definitely the dialogue changes as we move through the delivery of the project.
Yeah, and that teamwork is important.
Yeah, without doubt.
Key. We each have our own jobs, distinct roles, but working as a team throughout.
Yes, absolutely.
You've talked a lot, Ian, about communications between us and communications with the team of people working on the project. What about communications with the clients? My experience with clients is no surprises, is a rule of thumb.
Yeah, you're right. And I see this as an opportunity to communicate with the client, and that's an essential part of what we're doing, but also use that communication vehicle to bounce it into you and keep you up to speed what's happening too, right? So part and parcel of that. There's some fundamental stuff, right? So some straightforward, you know, you've got to agree the format, you've got to agree the frequency, you've got to agree the audience, and fundamentally, you've got to deliver against that, because it's really easy to say, I'll put a report into you every second Friday, and then actually you're a bit bombed that second Friday, so well, I'll shove it in on Monday. Professionalism, right? If you've said you're going to do it, do it. Simple stuff.
So when you talk about audience, what do you mean? Is there just one audience, or are there different types of audience?
No, I think this is a great opportunity actually for us going back into their organisation, because usually there's an audience which is the guys we're working with directly on putting this project together, but often there's their management line who are the guys who signed off the budget.
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about here is there's a communication into the guys on the project, but also this gives you in your selling role the opportunity to do stuff with guys higher up the chain, potentially who are signing some checks and what have you.
And I guess to keep things simple, they all need the project status. They all need key highlights of how it's advanced over since the last communications.
Yeah.
And importantly, probably most importantly, we need to tell them things we need from them in order to make the project happen.
No, definitely, and that's why these things we need from them is important, because it does two things, right? It tees up the thing that says, actually some of your guys aren't doing what they said they would do, so let's be public about that and let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
But it also then means you can start to have different conversations about where we're going, and you can give you in sales the opportunity to start to have some conversations further up the chain, but all of which allows us to kind of free some of those log jams again, you know.
Yeah.
And I would happily, because you're being honest, I would happily be honest about those things that says this is what we need to have happen. But the other thing to do, and this is the kind of the flip on that, is it's also your vehicle in sales to help them understand how fabulous and proactive we are.
Yeah.
Right. So I spoke to this person in Brazil. I spoke to this person in Germany. I've had a session with all of the marketing team in the States, and the senior guys go, "Ooh, you've been busy," and it's only from one. It's not a big thing. This is like 3 paragraphs. This is just about getting them to a place where they go, Fresheye know what they're talking about, and they're delivering.
Yeah, and understanding the value of delivering. Because often some of those conversations, there's many conversations with the team in Brazil, with the Germans, with another function, they are not visible to those senior folks.
No,
so
absolutely.
It makes them see it's happening and they see the value for the project.
Precisely, and that's why the comms thing is a really good platform for us. Really important.
Now, we've talked earlier about 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And we've talked earlier about clients coming in and making changes. We've talked earlier about tales of the unexpected, if you like.
Oh, here we go, come on.
Rodar. For my benefit, what sort of things typically happen during a project where you need some sales help, support or advice?
Okay, right. So I'm not going through how you manage the details of projects and what might happen, how you manage it internally, all that sort of. This is all about you and me and that interface and what that means as far as clients are concerned. If you're doing it well, this can create lots of opportunity. Right? This really is my feedback loop into you, because I get to talk to lots of people on projects you don't know, don't understand, I haven't got the time to talk about or deal with. Right? So in lots of respects, the project manager becomes your intelligent filter.
Yeah.
And really, that's about keeping you up to speed with changes within the project, because new guys might get folded in, new markets might get folded in, there's lots of things that can happen on that basis. And that's about scope and what have you, and we'll come on to talk about that, I'm sure. But there's also things like, and you shouldn't miss them, right? They can sail on past. But there's real value in some of this stuff. The sort of things I'm thinking about, you come across people telling you stuff about budgets. Potentially even giving you some printed sheets. Who do they spend money with? I mean, that's like gold. I'm sure everybody would kind of think, well, that's something you must know about. But other things like, client directories, presentations, where they're going with their strategy, what are they trying to make happen, where have they got problems in their business. Lots of that stuff often is in presentations, or you pick up as you're talking to guys, that actually makes your life much more simple in being able to target what you're doing. Because you then know what you're talking about is real from their perspective. And kind of other stuff that occurs, they give you access to systems, you can have a cart about, there's lots of that sort of stuff. So loads of value with that. And also, I think the other bit around all this is, it never ceases to amaze me how often people stumble over a need for other stuff when they're talking to you about this project or that project. And actually, wouldn't it be great if we had one of these? Or great if we had one of those? So obvious things, people will say, oh, we need some thought leadership. Well, don't worry, I'm sure we can sort something out for you. Yeah? And that's the question. That's the little buzz phrase, and it's back to sales opportunity. And I think that's often an untapped resource for how you keep your pipeline going as far as a project is concerned. Little bits you can put around the edge of it, you know.
Yeah, and we love that.
Oh, without doubt.
We love it when people, the project team bring to us ideas, thoughts, opportunities for us to sell into other parts of the organisation, either the same service or different services, because that's just like a gift to us, and we're most grateful and always will be for that. The other thing that often pops out during a project is the thorny subject of the project scope, and when it's been delivered and when it hasn't been delivered, and what's in scope and what's out scope, and how do you trade some of that stuff off.
Yeah, it's a tough one, definitely, and well worth talking about, I think.
So delivering the scope, we've just said, can be tricky.
Mm-hmm.
You get lots of changes during a project, which can be small, and you can often trade those off. We're going to do this in lieu of this. We're going to do this instead of this, and from a budgeting and scope perspective, we can get the equation to equal out, and everybody's happy. It works for us, it works for the client.
Well, yes, absolutely, and that's lifeblood from a program management perspective. It's that flex. You've got to be able to be that flexible. And for example, I've come across people, you know, or projects where they've wanted to take a market out of scope, which is a big chunky thing. And so you can't just go, yeah, sure, and I'll hide it, but we're going to put a different function in or something like that. You know, so a big thing for a big thing, that works. But I think slightly lower down the chain, there's opportunities for potentially people wanting to change their mind about a few things which were priced in. And you don't have to shout about the fact that you've agreed they're to come out. And actually that does just then give you that little bit more flex as far as the project is concerned. But it's always interesting the number of people or times that doesn't get written down. Right? So if you've agreed with the client that says, do you know what, actually we don't need to do 3 webinars, let's just do 2. Stick it on a note. Whiz it over. As agreed, 2, not 3. Make sure you get on with that stuff. I think that's important.
That's a great example. Capturing the changes of scope as you go, documenting them, and almost getting client sign-off really helps keep the client clear about where we are, but also avoids potential problems arising in the future around, we said we'd do this and we didn't do that. The clients agreed to it.
Definitely.
So that's a great example. And lots of small asks happen and we can trade those off. Eventually it comes to a point in the project where we are not in a position to trade them off. They've run out of the budget, we've delivered what we said we're going to do, but clients being clients, don't stop asking. And it'll always just do this little thing, and it'll seem unreasonable if we don't. And just do this little thing, it'll seem unreasonable if we don't. But those little things start adding up into a big thing. So eventually we have to draw a line and go, I'm really sorry, we've delivered what we're going to deliver, and we'll talk about client sign-off shortly. And this then has to become an out-of-scope work that you want to do now. And from a sales point of view, the things that we love you guys to do is capture what the client requires, which define the outcome they want to achieve, how they see they're going to achieve it, perhaps help them come up with a better answer if there is a better answer, then come back to us with detailed options that we can then put together into pricing.
Definitely, right? And that plays to what I was talking about right at the very beginning. It says part of this job is about having an opinion. Right? So if they do come to you and we've captured it and it's out of scope and all that sort of stuff, then actually I'm probably the person that's closest to what's going on and what they're trying to make happen, and can bring some thought to, well, why do you want to do it that way? Why wouldn't you do it this way? So there's definitely some shaping involved in that as far as the potential proposition to is concerned. But I'd like to go back actually to the bit you made, the point you made that says there's no more trade-offs left. Right? I actually really like that part. That makes my life much easier.
Right? Of course.
Because those guys, you're right, come on, it's only half a day, or it's only this, or it's only that. If we've drawn the line in the sand, and often you can give them a little thing and say, right, that's the last thing we're going to do for you. That's over and above what you asked for, but that's the last one. Anything after this I can't do for you. It makes my life much more simple, because then we're just talking about this project, and anything on from there is something we start to build for. So nice clean lines, I like that.
And it helps move us to the client sign-off as well. It manages that client sign-off phase in the sense that you're teeing it up. This is the last thing I can do for you. You do it.
Yeah.
They come back with something else because they're clients, and you go, I'm really sorry.
Yes.
We can help you come with the right answer. You come to me, we put a small proposal in, such as the Google Analytics proposal we did recently.
Yeah.
Only for a small amount of money, but from the client's point of view, they
Yes.
know at that point they're having to pay for anything else.
Absolutely. When they've paid for it, they know that the project you're doing is full. There is nowhere else for them to go, right? And that, to my mind, gives both sides some real clarity on what the sign-off is all about.
Yeah.
And what it was you said you would do, and what it is that you've delivered, and not some other stuff that's changed as you've been going along. So it's an important part for us, definitely. All right then, fellas, so let's just talk a little bit about the whole project sign-off side of things. And I think there's a trick in here. And the trick in the first instance is all about emotion. And it's the emotion within the organisation. Right? So as we're going around, we've done our project, I'm always spending time trying to capture specific feedback from individuals. You know, words they've said, get them written down.
Yeah.
Right? Because you collectively put that together and play that back into, like the senior guys you've been talking to when you're selling this to them says, do you know what? This is what your organisation is already saying about this project. Really, really powerful. And naturally, of course, you know, the more senior the guys you can expose that to and get feedback from, then the better. So there's that kind of emotional thing. But then also, you know, you've got the plain and simple, this is what we said we would do, this is what we've done, these are the bits which are over and above that we said we'd do. So you've got all this for extra, because that's the essence of Fresheye, we'll push above and beyond. And it takes you to a place where you can be very clear then about, you know, what the benefits are associated with what it is, and the value that their organisation gets from the work that we've done. I think they're the key bits in there.
Yeah, and from a sales point of view, we love the fact that you've captured those bits of feedback, because that's helping us not only get the project signed off, it's helping us position and garner and improve our reputation in the organisation.
Yeah.
And we love the fact we present back it's what we said we would do, and these are little extras you've got, because again, we're demonstrating the value to them. So that's sales and you guys working in harmony.
Yeah.
And I guess internally, from a project team, it's about knowing that you and I, sales, delivery team together, knowing that deep down, Fresheye values, we've nailed it for the client. And when it goes back to sign off, we're really comfortable. We've got smiles on our faces.
No.
We know we've done a bloody good job.
Absolutely, no, without doubt. But the temptation right at that stage is to go, great, haven't we done a fabulous thing? Right? Well, pat everybody on the back. The client says we were great, and we all march off, and we were great, and wasn't it fun? But you leave it like that, and you leave so much stuff on the table.
Right.
I think. What you're trying to get to, really, I think, is using the work that you've done as a springboard for the next piece of work that you're going to do. And clearly, the sort of stuff that comes into this is, you know, you can start to use phrases like, well, if I was in your shoes, I would. Because you know and understand their problems, where they're at, what's going on, all that sort of stuff. And it gives you the opportunity to upsell to them, right? To say, look, we understand we've taken it here, and actually, if I were you, well not you, but if I was you, I'll do this, this and this. And really what we're trying to do, I guess, is often kind of a smorgasbord of things that they might want to have a little pick at, a little few tasters, you know, that sort of thing I think works really, really well if you bang it into the sign-off meeting, because it's the man or the lady who's gone with the cash that won't be getting some of those messages unless you put it on the table.
And the brilliant thing about it being done from your side of the table is it's done by a non-sales voice, and it's done around how we help you extract more value from the project that you just delivered at your organisation. With all that great feedback from the people whose comments you've already talked about. So it's a very, very good, subtle way of getting in the sales message without having to push it directly. So from a sales point of view, that's just super brilliant. You know, real essence of fantastic stuff.
Absolutely, completely, right? It's grounded in fact, and it's nothing more than the applications of common sense. So people can't shoot it down, but it gives the opportunity to have a different conversation, and that's really what we're about.
And in that final sign-off meeting, again, very powerful. Now thinking about that final sign-off meeting, if the project's gone really, really well and it's been exposed at an even higher level than we originally sold it into, often that they'll want to get that signed off at the senior level for their own kudos,
Mm-hmm.
and also for their own reasons of getting some more budget to sign for some more work.
Yeah.
If things get signed off at the senior level, it's really important, I believe, that we get that pre-signed off with the stakeholders before we go into that
Yeah.
final senior sign-off meeting, again back to the no surprises
Completely.
message.
Yeah, no brainer, no surprises. Nobody likes them, right? You don't like me surprising you, right? Don't blindside me.
Yeah.
Well, clients are exactly the same. No surprises. You know, if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind when you're doing anything to do with the project, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So great project, Ian. Thank you very, very much. Great job as always.
It's a pleasure, here to serve and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, good. I'll let the guys know. It's always a good thing to share some successes. So thanks for that.
It is. So if we step back and look at some of the things we've learned from this project and the ones we've done, let's try and reflect on some of the key takeouts.
Okay.
The first one that comes to my mind is, it is a team. It's teamwork right throughout. We're always talking, yet our roles are distinct,
Yeah.
and it's important we don't blur them from the client's point of view. They need to know who's responsible for selling and who's responsible for delivering.
Yes. Absolutely right. But at the same time, right, you can't be seen to be throwing things either side of the wall on that too, because we are one organisation.
Yes.
But I absolutely accept your point. And I think, I guess if I was going to say, well, if you reflect on, what's the kind of big takeouts, I come back to that communication stuff, right? Pure and simple. The communication stuff is absolutely vital. And the thing that's really transformed this for me, and these last few projects I've been doing, and I hadn't liked it to start with, but it's the whole link and the Skype thing. When you can see someone's face, it's an entirely different relationship. It's an entirely different way of solving problems. And it's actually, you're much more together. So communications is the link behind all of it. But actually some of the changes and some of the face-to-face stuff you can do remotely these days makes that even easier and more fulfilling to do too.
I agree, it's much better, even if you do have to have a shave every day.
Oh yeah, true enough, yeah.
And the other thing on that communications point is information flows both ways,
Yeah.
and email serves us up to a point, but can often be misinterpreted. And we've known each other for centuries, I've said.
Yeah.
Yet sometimes I'll get an email from you and I'll think it means something completely different. And I know you get the same when I send you an email.
Yeah.
And we use those Skype link chats 10 or 15 minutes once a day just to crack through so many things that we can do quickly and easily. At the same time, keeping good personal bon ami going, to throw in a French word for your locale. So those information flows both ways throughout are critical to the success of the project.
Definitely, without any shadow of a doubt. And that kind of leads me on to a real important thing from my perspective, actually, is the speed of response from you or from sales, from whomever it is that I'm working, the speed of response. Because I'm not knocking on your door because I just want to have a chat. I'm not knocking on your door because it's not important, right? There's something that we need to get sorted to move on to the next level of the project or the next delivery thing. And the speed of that response is essential. And I know you're busy. But like you've just said, it's only 5 or 10 minutes to make a difference. And it really does make a difference. So that speed thing, it's got to be up there as one of the big learns. Because if you don't, right, we're all just sat here twiddling our thumbs. We've got a logjam, we need to do something about it. So I appreciate the speed with which you come back on projects for me.
Yeah, I know it's important. I try to get back if I can within 24 hours, no matter how busy I am, because that 10 minutes helps remove the logjam, helps us make a decision, and keeps us moving forward.
No, absolutely. And I think they'll be the 4 key ones, actually.
I agree.
Okay.